Welcome to the show. I'm James.
I'm David.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Riley.
That's good. And today we're discussing Die Hard from 1988. We'll laugh, we'll argue, might get a little too into it, but at the end of the day, they're just Christmas movies.
Spoiler alert, mother truckers.
Whoa!
Are they Christmas movies? We'll debate that.
Watch your language.
We're the show that
It's Christmas.
user T. Keefe called my favorite movie podcast in their 5-star review. I agree. It's mine too.
Wow, we have so much in common.
That's crazy. Next week, we're going to do Avatar 2, The Way of Water.
Wow, I can't believe it.
I'm actually pumped.
Really?
Yeah, the first press reviews came in and they're like really, really high.
Really?
Yeah. Guillermo del Toro's like, when was the last time you saw a movie? So.
Really?
Guillermo del Toro said that?
Yeah.
About Avatar?
Yeah. And a lot of people are saying that it's something
worthy
special.
sequel?
How are the tickets?
Way better than the original.
How's the ticket situation? I haven't bought them yet.
You should buy right now.
Okay.
We'll put the podcast on pause. And
I bought mine weeks ago,
Same.
but I think it's going to suck. But I don't know. I haven't seen a movie in 48 hertz before,
Me neither.
and so I'm looking forward to that.
I'm nervous about that, but we'll see. We'll see.
haven't seen the
I'll
movie.
take this movie however Cameron wants to give it to me.
Yep. I'd take.
Anyways.
Anyways, why are we here though, James?
What do we do here?
Die
Oh
Hard.
yeah, Die Hard.
Yeah. David, what do you think? Thanks, David.
What do you rate this movie out of 10, David?
When people ask me to name a perfect movie, my answer is always Die Hard.
Really?
Die Hard is
Wow.
perfect.
Wow.
For what it's trying to be, it's a 10 out of 10. I think on the universal scale of movies, I'll give it an 8.2 out of 10.
Okay.
I'm glad you're here, David.
8.2.
8.2.
Wow.
That's the perfect score.
Yeah, it's a 10 out of 10.
It's better than a 5 out of 7.
in some context. Am I next? Last time you made a big deal.
You
but
go.
Sarah going first.
No, now it's you.
Let's bounce back and forth.
All right, we're bouncing. I went into this completely expecting to watch yet another kind of fun yet forgettable action movie, and well, I came out a Die Hard fan. Freaking 9 out of 10. I love this movie.
Wow.
I can't believe it. Why? You didn't expect it?
This is crazy.
I loved this movie.
love
I
it.
was
I
like,
love
honestly, everyone was like, "What? You haven't seen Die Hard?" I'm like, yeah. It's probably just Rambo, blah blah blah. No, it's got heart. It's got
tight.
feels. I love it.
I totally agree.
Sarah.
Romance.
All right. If Die Hard really is a Christmas movie, consider it my favorite. 9 out of 10.
Woo! Here we go.
I'm
James
so
is the poo-pooer.
shocked here. Yeah. It's kind of a boring version of Home Alone, but with more, but not better, swearing. 5.5 out of 10.
James.
This movie is like a half an hour too long. I was like,
How long is it?
nothing
Isn't it
But
like
what
90
time
minutes?
did you watch it?
No, man, it's 2 hours and 12 minutes or something like that. And
Yep.
I will admit this. I'll admit it. I got home at like 9:30 p.m.
See, that's your problem.
I wanted to go to bed, but I was up till like after
James.
midnight watching this shit. No.
I started watching this at like 11:30.
Well, that's why it was so annoying how boring it is in the middle. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
It's not boring at all.
Did we watch the same movie?
Yo, he spends so much time in this movie just sitting there. I'll talk about it later.
I'm
but
so happy. I'm
he's
just
not
happy.
doing anything. He's just sitting in a room. He's on the construction level, talking on the radio and
Yeah.
not
It's
doing
so
anything.
important.
It's a
though.
beautiful bromance.
Holy fuck. This-
Greatest romance in movies.
I'm just happy right now
thought
that
this movie
I'm not going to
sucked.
be the one that people are attacking in the comments. It's James this time. Drag him.
so hard. So hard.
You know what? Right after I drag Secret Lab for sponsoring. Why would you sponsor this show? You stupid company with good products sponsoring dead end shows. Secret Lab chairs are designed to keep you comfortable for those long nights of work and play and watching overlong action movies from the 80s. Their Titan Evo 2022 series chair offers a 4-way lumbar support. It comes with a magnetic memory foam head pillow, and it's offered in different upholsteries like hybrid leatherette, soft weave fabric, and Napa leather, the best leather for wrapping your bloody feet.
Okay.
Best of all, a 5-year extended warranty is included along with a 49-day return policy, so you're covered if anything goes wrong. Learn more at Secret Lab. I always do that. About Secret Lab at lmg.gg/secretlabtjm.
Don't keep it secret.
If you're a diehard for vitamins, check out Athletic Greens. Each scoop of Athletic Greens AG1, which sounds like an AI or maybe a graphics card, but it's not. It's a powder. It's got 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, superfoods, probiotics, postbiotics, made that one up, and adaptogens, that one's real, to help you start your day healthily. It's got less than 1 gram of sugar and no nasty chemicals or artificial additives while still tasting great. Each pack costs you less than $3 a day. You can afford that. You can afford that.
You can afford that.
You can do it.
For your health.
It's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop and a cup of water every day. There's no need for different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free, it's caps lock, free 1 year supply of immune supporting vitamin D. The D is in caps lock too. D. And 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is go to athleticgreens.com/TJM. Thanks Brilliant for sponsoring this video. Brilliant is a hands-on and interactive way to learn STEM topics. We're not talking plants, we're talking science, plant botany. You know what STEM stands for.
Any topic about plant stems.
They offer thousands of lessons with new topics to learn each month, like their computer science fundamentals course. Their services their services can be used to supplement a college education, or you can use it if getting smart is just a passion of yours. If you don't understand the basics behind a problem, where do you even start your troubleshooting? We'll tell you. Brilliant. The first 200 people who head to brilliant.org/TJM will get 20% off an annual premium subscription. I'm unhinged today.
Yeah. We're like, there's only 3 episodes left, or 2 after this
They
one.
can't get mad at us anymore.
Yeah.
We can say whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do?
Yeah. What are you? Cancel us? I cancel us.
Yeah. I am the one who cancels. That was a collective I.
But that was the Breaking Bad reference?
I am the one who knocks.
Yeah.
I
Cool.
am death.
Can you just do the synopsis?
Oh, right, about
of this
that.
long-ass movie?
On Christmas Eve, NYPD detective John McClane lands in LA, hoping to reconcile with his estranged wife Holly at a party held by her employer, the Nakatomi Corporation. Limo driver Argyle drives McClane to the building and offers to wait in the garage. But after a tense reunion with Holly, the tower is seized by German radical Hans Gruber and his heavily armed team. I keep wanting to say MacGruber every time I read his
Great
name.
movie. Haven't seen the TV show.
McClane slips away, but everyone else is taken hostage. It's revealed that Gruber is only posing as a terrorist to steal the $640 million in untraceable bearer bonds in the building's vault. When executive Mr. Takagi refuses to give him the code, Gruber kills him, tasking hacker guy Theo with breaking into the vault. Meanwhile, McClane kills one of the goons and takes his weapon and radio, which he uses to heckle Gruber's team and contact the skeptical LAPD, who send one guy to investigate Sergeant Al Powell, the legend. I love him. Seeing nothing amiss, Powell is about to leave, so McClane desperately drops a terrorist's corpse onto his car from a tower window. Backup arrives, and despite Powell's objections, multiple attempts to storm the building are thwarted by the terrorists. McClane and Powell develop a proto-bromance over the radio as McClane picks off more goons, but things get real when McClane catches Gruber checking the explosives on the roof. Gruber is eventually saved by his team, leaving McClane's feet heavily injured by broken glass. Outside, the FBI takes over and cuts the building's power, disabling the final vault lock and allowing Gruber's team to take the bonds as he anticipated. The FBI agrees to Gruber's demand for a helicopter, but sends gunship helicopters instead. Gruber plans to destroy them and fake his team's deaths by blowing up the roof. McClane manages to drive the hostages off the roof just before Gruber blows it, and with only 2 bullets left, finally confronts Gruber, who's holding Holly after learning that they're married. McClane surrenders and is about to be shot, but grabs the pistol he taped to his back, shooting the goon and Gruber, who falls to his death. Outside, a tender hug between new bros, McClane and Powell, is interrupted by Carl, the big German terrorist I didn't mention before. But he's shot dead by Powell, despite his previous trauma about guns. A legend.
It's like he didn't, like the writers were like, oh no, he doesn't have a character arc. And they
Shut
just
up.
like,
That's for later. That's for later, James. Argyle crashes through the parking garage door in the limo and drives McClane and Holly home for some Christmas cocoa. A season's yeetings. Get out of there. Woo! You know what I mean?
Argyle, what a guy.
I love this movie.
Just hung out.
Best limo driver there is.
I fully came in expecting, before I watched the movie, I came in expecting to be the guy that I've been multiple times here, especially when Sarah's here. I'm like, I don't like this movie, and you guys are all like, we like it. But here we are.
To be fair,
I thought the 3 of us were gonna be like, that's
no, to be fair, usually it's a horror film that we're talking about,
That's
which
true.
I can understand. I am usually in your spot. I'm not a huge action person, so
Right.
going into this, I was like, oh, this is going to be like an Arnold Schwarzenegger action
you
film.
shut your mouth. How dare you?
I'm sorry, but I actually really
Abaddon.
enjoyed it, like a lot.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the greatest achievements of Die Hard is that it ushered in a new era of action movies where we were in the super serious serious Predator and Commando era of action
Yeah.
movies, and then we got brought to like the regular everyman guy, kind of just has to make do with what he's given.
Right.
Would you say that Lethal Weapon is like a Die Hard kind of knockoff?
I wouldn't say it's a
Or it's like in
knockoff.
the spirit of?
I don't even know if it's after. I think Lethal Weapon's before.
It's 87. It's like pretty much the same time, but
88
it
is Die Hard.
Yeah, it's a year earlier.
But I think like the formula of Die Hard, having kind of contained and kind of clear stakes, is something that really would be aped after. Like there's so many Die Hard on a bus, Die Hard on a boat, Die Hard on a
Right.
this, and so
Yo, Speed is better than Die Hard.
I don't know.
I watched it this year. Speed rules.
Speed is great.
What freaking rules?
What time of the day did you watch it, James?
Oh, I was probably, you know what? It was 7 a.m. I just did some CrossFit and then smoked a bowl. I was optimal.
Well, obviously you're gonna enjoy that more.
I was joking, dude.
I won't disagree. Speed is
The
fantastic.
pace of that movie is it's speedy.
See, but I think this movie does have tight pacing, and it's efficient in its storytelling, especially early on. It's giving you so much info about the character, about the world, with these little details.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like, okay, they don't spend a bunch of time being like, wow, the Nakatomi Plaza is like the peak building. Wow, the architects really went all out to give it, you know, the top tier security. It's like they give you just these little snippets of like, yes, you go to the little codex and type in the name. But then also while he's typing the name, you find out that Holly's changed her name. Like she's presenting as a single lady, and like
Yeah, but
giving you lots of
that's
dense
redundant.
information.
I actually wrote down, why are they showing us this terminal? Because he later walks in through her office and it says her last name on the office door. So that was
But it's the
contained
moment.
there.
That's the moment that he realizes that she changed her.
I know, but
last
he
name
could have
back.
realized it when walking through that door. I think that the
Well, but
reason that he uses that fancy terminal, which is so frustrating to watch, because it's like he's pointing at shit. I'm like, man, just fucking, like, he's a slow typer. It sucks to
It's the
watch.
80s. People
Yeah, I
don't know
know.
much about the
Touchscreens
computer.
I
don't
know that. I
exist.
know that. But I think the reason it's in the movie is to set up that this company and building has a lot of technology.
Yes.
Because like in the next scene, they bring in a hacker whiz guy and he's
Yeah.
able to shut the doors. He's able to do a lot of stuff in the building. So I
Right.
think that's why they include it. But
Yeah.
without that,
And it also continues
it's
to
also
set
like 20
the tone.
seconds. You need to calm down.
It also sets the tone for, like, you know, it ups the conflict, because not only is he coming to see his wife that he like made a decision not to come with her to LA or whatever. There's
That's
that
great.
tension there, and then he sees that she has gone back to using her maiden name, and that's good to have earlier rather than later, because that ups the tension that needs to be relieved later. So we don't want to relieve it like in the middle of it.
I also think that if they had it just being walking past the door, the audience might not have understood.
Right.
It might have been confusing because like we don't really know his name that well. Whereas if he says, "Oh, I'm looking for this person," and then it's not there, then you know really clearly as an audience that's not the right name.
Yeah,
Sure.
I don't know.
I think
really,
that we always focus on the good stuff at the beginning, and I think this movie has a few things that are like kind of iconic that just they do make it kind of stand out, like him being barefoot.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
love that.
that whole
Yeah.
him being nervous on the plane. That whole story, it seems like it was just a contrivance because they wanted him to run around barefoot the whole movie.
Well, when they open it up
I'm
to a
fine with that.
character.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess when they open it up to a character like that being vulnerable, you kind of are you can gain more of a resemblance to that person, being like, oh, he's nervous on a plane. Like, I don't know, let's see what else he can do.
See, I think it accomplishes a lot of stuff. I think one, it sets up that he's reluctant to travel. He's not someone that wants to get out of New York. He likes his little bubble. He likes his thing. And that helps accentuate the conflict that he has with his wife, that she went on this adventure to LA, but like that's why he's not following her, is like, you know, he's got his bubble.
I mean, moving, you travel once. You don't probably
it's not
won't
the
even
travel.
fly.
It's just he likes his bubble, but also I think,
you're right that it accentuates the gesture that he's
Yeah,
doing to
for
go
sure.
see her.
But
He got this big teddy bear. He doesn't even get to give it to her.
Yeah, but I also think, like Sarah's saying,
wanna talk about
it's a good detail that brings you into the tactileness of the movie. Like it's something that, as an audience, you can be like, ah, yes, that feeling of curling your toes on the carpet, I can identify with that, and that's a really macro feeling or a micro feeling, and then all of a sudden you're brought into these really high elevated things, and so you're brought into the world of the movie, and then you can feel the movie more that way. It's like a little detail that allows you to enter into the tactility of the movie.
I feel like I came in expecting like a Rambo or a, you know, Schwarzenegger thing or whatever. And I think that those little details and all of the sass and the humor and the fact that he's like an underdog and not like this like brawny action hero just like mowing down, like each encounter that he has with the terrorists are not like he just easily
He doesn't
kills
shoot them. He outsmarts them.
He, like, there are some points in his fights in his hand-to-hand fights where I'm like, who is winning right now? I have no idea.
He's
and
just
it's like a struggle.
A lot more relatable in a sense.
He's
like,
a super underdog.
he doesn't just take out all of these people right away. There's some hesitation to like towards shooting them or like yeah, he just kind of goes into all of these scenarios not really sure what the outcome is going to be like. And I feel like a lot of action movies are just like, oh, he's obviously going to overtake them.
Yeah.
But in this case, you're kind of like, is he going to overtake them?
Exactly. And you're rooting for him to overtake them even if he isn't like the most powerful person, because to me, his superpower is not just like he's an action hero and he's more obviously capable. Like he can like, he's got 2 bullets left and he goes bam bam and he like gets them, like classic like gunslinger move. So he's got some skills, but his like, that's part of his superpower, and the other part of his superpower is being annoying and sassy.
Yeah, scrappiness.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I love that. I actually
did read him as more unstoppable than you guys. Like, actually, one of the notes I wrote down that annoyed me is when the FBI are coming in with their big siege team, and he's like, you guys are coming in here? You don't know who you're dealing with. Don't come in here. These guys are pros. I'm like, dude, you just single-handedly took out like 6 of them.
Yeah, but
by
one
yourself
at a
with
time. One at a time,
shoes on.
and he got
These guys
lucky.
have a freaking tank, and you're like, you guys don't come in here, but I can handle this by myself.
See, I don't read
Like,
it that way at
what?
all. He's just trying to survive and like do what he can, whereas he knows that they're prepared for an outside incursion.
Exactly.
Like they had prepared for this eventuality. They didn't prepare for someone on the inside.
a rogue.
So it's his
guy on the
element of
inside.
surprise.
Yeah, I think that's-
which he completely throws away by writing, now I have a machine gun, ho 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 motherfuckers, I'm here.
But
He
he uses that to gather more information, and he's like using it in a way they're not expecting. He's going in between the levels. Like, he's scrappy and resourceful in a way that I think is maybe smarter than a normal person, but that's
Exactly.
I think they do a really good job with John McClane, balancing him being just a schlub, but also being fucking awesome.
Yeah, he's just slub, but he's like a Brooklyn on the streets, hard nosed cop
He's
who
street smart,
who has
yeah.
dealt with everybody under the sun, and so like he appears at first glance as just like, oh no, he's just a regular cop, but like he's dealt with shit. And the reason that he is intimidating and like capable is not because he's like fucking Rambo going out there just like mowing people down because he's invincible. He survives because he's smart. And there's also like a really like interesting survival element to this. It feels kind of like Desert Island, where he's running out of bullets. He has to find resources. He like his clothes get dirty and horrible, and they're coming off and stuff, and he has to like bandage
they're
up
coming
his.
off.
Oh yeah, but I mean like there's like a found item, like it felt like a video game sort of,
Totally.
where it's like he's going around. It's like a battle royale.
Well, that first guy he fights and he pulls his bag open. He's like literally looting his bag, and you're like, all right, what's he gonna do with this? He's got the gun, the 2 clips. He's got these detonator
Oh,
things.
now he's over encumbered.
Like the
you gotta drop something, pal.
the audience is aware of like what's in his inventory at any given point in time, which like makes the stakes more tangible.
Yeah,
That's what I meant to
I
say.
think that's the strength of the movie, is that it's always really clear what's going on and what John McClane is doing. And like the only time they really reverse that, it's such a good little twist. Like when Hans Gruber, you think he's outsmarting John McClane, and he does the American accent, and he's like, "Oh yeah, oh man, don't shoot me."
I loved that.
And as an audience, you're like, "Oh my god, this is the stupidest accent I've ever heard," but it's hilarious. But then, you know, they even double fake you out. There's like the list of names on the thing, and Hans is like, "Oh, I'm Clay," and there's a Clay on the list, and John McClane hands him the gun, and you're like, "Oh fuck, man!" Like he gave him the gun. Oh shit.
I was confused about that because he says, "What's your name?" and the guy says Clay.
Yeah.
So what?
I think Hans Gruber's smart enough that he might remember a name that he saw. Or,
Right.
I don't think they don't give you that detail, but I'm willing to accept that he's observant enough to know that there's a Clay.
He reads a lot.
Yeah.
I almost thought for a second that like that was like a giveaway to McClane.
No,
That he's like,
there's another aspect to this that I read about actually. So McClane has the cigarettes, the German cigarettes, right? And so he gives him one, and he makes a point to say they're stronger than normal cigarettes. And so when Hans takes a puff of it, he doesn't have a reaction to it being stronger. And so that could have potentially been an indication that he's one of the Germans and not just a normal person who works at the building.
I feel like
Very nice.
Kind of interesting, eh?
Yeah.
he also may have just given the gun, I guess, unloaded just as a test. Like maybe he
Yeah.
didn't know until he tried to shoot the gun that he's like,
But I just fucking love that moment when you're like, oh no, John
know.
McClane, no.
I wanted to fit it as a synopsis, but it was already long,
Yeah.
and I'm like, God dang it.
It was so unexpected though. Like that's the thing. I feel like usually you can kind of tell when something like that is going to happen, but this time I was like, oh my gosh, I felt like I was blindsided.
That scene's great too because you just need to have interactions between the main, like the protagonist and the villain, like where they got, where Batman gets to interview the Joker, like bring them together, and this movie figured out a way to do it.
So this movie's really funny the way it happened because it was originally written. It's a novel, but it's written as a sequel to a book called The Detective, which is like a Frank Sinatra movie.
Oh.
And so they commissioned it was a big hit. They commissioned the novel right away. And they were like, we're going to make it into a movie, but it kind of got put on ice. Frank Sinatra got too old and it just, got put in development hell and they didn't get it. But a new executive came in and was like, oh, there's a good skeleton of a movie here. Let's bring this back out and let's do it. They hired a new writer to spruce it up, do this stuff. But basically, when they went to shooting, the script wasn't done. They had 35 pages done, and they had to write as they were going.
And then they just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote.
And so they brought in like the comedy writer later. And again, there was like a big tension between the comedy writer and like people trying to make it more serious. But Bruce Willis wanted it to be funny. So he fought for, like, his agents were like, we don't want any comedy rewrites. We want it to be serious because they were worried. He was like a TV actor. They wanted him to be taken serious. Anyways, basically the point of that scene, the point of this story is that scene came about because they didn't know how they were going to get John McClane and Hans Gruber to face. They didn't have a natural way.
They needed a face-to-face thing.
And someone at catering asked Alan Rickman, be like, can you do an American accent? He's like, I can't do like an American accent per se, but I can do like a California one. And then he did his California accent. They're like, oh, yeah, this could work.
That's
and so
really
it just
good.
like kind of came out from that. The writer was like, oh, let's write this scene in. And then they came up with that scene. And I think it's a great scene.
Oh, it's a great scene. Yeah. And I had looked a little bit into the development of the film as well. And like the novels that they're based on have the character, like the hero character, be very serious and also kind of like nihilistic. And there was a lot more of the sort of like having violence in there just to shock the reader and stuff. And they were like, okay, we want to humanize this a lot more. And I think that I really appreciate McClane being a lot more of like, he's a family man. Like in the book, apparently he sees his like drug addicted daughter in some situation. And in this one, it's like he's just trying to get home for Christmas. I feel like it just like endears me to him so much more.
Yep. In the novel, it ends with, instead of dropping Hans Gruber, he drops his daughter off the building accidentally. Like he handed law to her.
Oh my
And so it's a very different thing.
That would never happen.
It's a different movie.
Yeah. And I think that the angle that they do, the emotional core of the movie is really good for this kind of movie. It's as like deep as I want this sort of movie to be.
Well, that's why I will argue it is 100% a Christmas movie.
Yes.
Because I guess that's some kind of debate.
Well, I feel like
it is a debate, but it shouldn't be.
Well, I mean, in some sense, it's not a Christmas movie because it's not like Elf or something or the Santa Claus, or it just kind of takes place during Christmas.
Yeah.
But it takes place during Christmas more than I thought it would as someone who hadn't seen it. I just thought it was like really incidental that it was Christmas, but it is like they're playing Christmas music in the taxi cab and like there's a lot of Christmas. They go to a Christmas party.
They're specifically targeting a Christmas party because they have better access. Yeah, no, it's a Christmas movie.
And then you've got to your point though, it has that kind of heart through line. It has those grace notes.
When it's like reuniting a family, like that's a pretty family. Or
There's no shot with him and the kids though,
which is weird.
They're in bed.
Yeah, and I think that they could have done more with the kids. They're kind of just like a tool for the writer to give Hans some extra information to know who Holly is and stuff. And it kind of works, but I also hate that reporter in the best way. God, I want to punch him when Holly punches him. That's 10 out of 10 moment.
How did you guys feel about Alan Rickman?
I didn't know Snape was anyone before he was Snape. I was like, wow.
Wait, really?
This is his first movie, so he's a Broadway and theater guy.
This was his breakout movie role in Hollywood?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because he was in the friggin' Robin Hood, one of those big Robin Hood movies.
Robin Hood, I think that's just after this though.
Is Men in Tights?
Yeah, let me look up.
No. It was
that's the comedy.
The Kevin Costner one.
But he is like a comedic character in that.
Prince of Thieves,
yeah. I don't know. I loved him in this movie. I think that he is like immediately kind of he has a gravity to him that you're kind of like you pay attention to him. He's got a weird face.
Dude, I can't figure this out. I was looking at his face, and as soon as the elevator doors open, there's so much like emotion. You see his face, and you're like, you have a response, right? And I can't figure out if it's like all good actors, they are part of the reason for their success is they have these interesting to look at faces, or if it's like I've already previously imbued emotion into his face. Like it came from me because I know he's Snape, and I have this baggage and I'm bringing it along. So then I look at the guy who's in the background of that elevator shot and be like, what if that guy was in the middle? Would I have an emotional response to that guy, or does he look generic? I think it's a bit of both.
I feel like he's got like a level of sassiness that kind of matches McClane's, and so
You
then
mean your
like,
son's?
That's right. My son is so sassy. He can't even put a sentence together, but I can feel it. I can feel it's going to be there. So like, what's his name? Hans Gruber and McClane have like a great like sassy back and forth over the radio, and I think that like gives him like they kind of become foils of each other, even if their characters are very different. Like there's the scene when Ellis comes in, like the employee Ellis. The idiot guy who thinks he can like
the cokehead salesman.
I hate him.
He comes in and he's like,
him.
so I figure you're here for, I wrote it down. Where is it?
Hans Booby.
Oh, I figure you're here to negotiate. And Gruber is like, you're amazing. You figured that all by yourself. And
he delivered that line perfectly.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like right on the line of like, this guy's not going to know that I'm making fun of him.
Yeah. He doesn't have like a ton of opportunities to do stuff like that, which kind of made me sad because that scene was so great with him and Ellis. And the rest of the time, he's basically just kind of like barking orders and being upset that McClane's in the building. And
I think he occupies those lines with the necessary humanity and like character to them, that it doesn't feel like he's just barking orders all the time. Like he does have dimensionality, even though like he doesn't have too much to accomplish.
Especially as you learn more about their plan and the fact that like they're not terrorists. He doesn't have an ideology. He's just trying to get out of there with the money.
From pop culture, I thought that the bad guy in this movie was Hans. I thought it was a long-haired blonde guy. So I just kept waiting for Hans to reveal himself as the main.
You mean Carl?
Carl.
Who's Hans?
The big
Hans
blonde-
Gruber is the main.
Oh, Hans Gruber. No, I mean Carl then.
Yeah.
The guy who gets shot at the end by the cop.
I think it's such a fun little ragtag of thieves. I enjoy their like weird looks.
I don't understand it
the
at all.
ballet, the ballet
At
dude.
one point, someone says like, they're mostly European, like mostly. I'm like, is that the descriptor of like a heist team composed of mostly European? Like, why do they have? Who are they?
Apparently, in Germany, a lot of people were offended that that's how Germans were being portrayed. So they actually changed it in the German version to Europeans instead. And so I think they kind of just melded those two versions
Why
together.
are they German?
Yeah, I asked that as well. I'm like, it seems weird for these like terrorists to be German. Like you'd think, but
That might have been peak, like, German engineering is the best in the world. So it's like, it was just like the most efficient way to communicate, top efficiency. They're like the most efficient.
Oh,
robbery
maybe.
crew.
Maybe it was super woke to be like, you know what? It's been enough time. Germans can be portrayed as bad guys again.
Maybe. I mean, because like the default bad guy around this time would have been like Russians.
That was played out after Red Dawn.
Yeah, maybe.
We're going back to Germans.
It might have been like, we're tired of Russians being the bad guys.
Well, and I think Russians are generally in 80s cinema coded as, savage brutes.
Right.
Not like cold, calculating, smart people. And I think coding them as...
Who is? Russians?
The Russians, yeah. And so coding them as German is like cold and efficient.
Yes, especially given that, like, especially post World War II, the farther away from World War II you get, the more the kind of like intellectual school in Germany is like getting back to its former glory. And there's a lot of like Marxist thought, revolutionary thought coming up around there. So I can understand them being like, where would revolutionary radicals come from?
Yeah.
Germany makes sense from that perspective.
Yeah, and let's be clear, it's not our thoughts we're communicating. We're trying to identify the 80s trends.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that you. I'm saying
but I think that's a maybe an explanation. Who knows?
I absolutely adored that like introduction into our bad guys. They all come in like so cool and calculated. Each of them have their own little thing that they're doing, which kind of gives us an idea as to what each character does and who they are. I loved Theo, the hacker guy.
The hacker guy.
I loved him.
That intro is great.
He
when
had
he just
so many cool, cute little like quips in there, like some really
Talking
fun
about,
phrases.
Like, the sports scores when they come in.
No, that's a different guy. I think that was
Theo's the one that walks up
Theo
to
and the other guy
desk.
come in and they're like talking about like
and he's like 2 points when, when they,
once he
Basketball.
kills him.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, they just like freaking kill the guard. These
I
guys
like
are
when
brutal.
after he's done his little first batch of hacking, he does like a spin kick to the server rack and sparks fly out. Like, yeah, that's how that works.
Get it?
I like a lot of the little details of the crew walking in. Like even the one dude who's like, doing the careful cable cutting work. He puts like the 2 connectors and then snips them and then goes.
Yeah.
And the other guy walks in with the chainsaw and he's just like, no. And he just
And
starts
that's great
cutting
because
across.
they're brothers.
Yeah.
So then he's like, oh, stop it. And he's like, I'm just, like trolling his brother.
Yeah, I love it.
The other big positive for me, obviously, is Sergeant Al Powell.
Classic.
I freaking love that guy.
Yep.
What's his name? Reginald Vell Johnson, the dad from Family Matters, with the crazy IMDb
Oh,
profile
that's the
photo.
dad from Family Matters.
Yeah.
I used to watch that show a lot.
And this was actually his breakout role. He did this, and he actually was. Well, there was a trivia about that. He was. They were going to have Gene Hackman play this cop character.
That's so wrong.
And
not Gene Hackman, Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, he was a small boy.
With claws.
it was gonna have Gene. They were gonna have Gene Hackman, and he couldn't do it, so they brought in this guy. Again, they decided that they want like a relatively unknown actor, and I'm so glad he got this breakout role because he's like perfect. I love this bro ship that they like make over the radio.
She's like, hey, listen, we're blue collar cops.
Yeah, well, like Al is trying to get the deputy police chief to like listen to him, and he won't. And McClane knows how that feels. He's like, as an NYPD guy, it's like everyone's an idiot, and. There's one part where he's saying like Powell's like, how you feeling, McClane? And he's like, feeling pretty unappreciated, Al. And Al's like, hey, I love you. It's gonna be okay or whatever. I just like burst out laughing.
that was
'cause I'm
funny.
Like,
That
this
was
is
over the
so
top.
good. Yeah.
I love the relationship, the family relationship, like with his wife, that setup as being complicated.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that was great. Because like, I was just kind of wondering at the beginning, like his character introduction is like, okay, we know he doesn't like flying. He's a cop and he's either single or he's a dirtbag. The way he's like smiling at this
ogling.
flight attendant.
He like okay, at first it kind of rubbed me the wrong way that he was like ogling every woman that like comes within range of him. He's just like, like looking at them, but later it becomes endearing because he's trying to survive in the tower, and he's like, at just trying to survive. He's almost dead, and then he passes by that poster
I
of like the
love that.
topless girl, and he just like touches like girls.
it's for good luck.
Yeah, he touches
that was ad-libbed.
Yeah,
That had to be an improv.
And
They actually took out a lot of jokes early on in the movie. Like there's a cut scene. So when that flight attendant and him stare at each other, there's actually like lines they deliver to each other, but they cut it because it just played so weird.
Yeah.
Isn't
So like I was confused about that because I'm like, on the one hand, the more that we learn, the more it seems like he does want to get back together with his wife. But on the other hand, it seems like he's like got real wandering eyes situation. But they've been living apart for a long time, so maybe he's just horny.
I also think they probably didn't want to portray him as desperate to get back.
Right.
I think they didn't want to make it seem like, that's all he has. They want,
Yeah.
he's like, they're playing that fine line of schlub, but also like
Right.
someone you admire. And so they have to
I feel
give
like
you a bit of both.
it also telegraphs, because he's like a smaller guy, you can tell he's not like a Schwarzenegger. It serves to kind of like telegraph that he is like a red-blooded American male or something, where he's like, okay, yeah, he's doing his own thing and he's been fine living away from his family, but don't make that, he's not fucking gay. So just so you know, he fucks.
What's so funny is like in 1988, this was like, a break from hyper masculinity, but like compared to 2022, he's still like a masculine character, It's very different.
Right.
Very different times.
I want to go back to because to me, the fact that the bromance is so strong with Powell kind of takes away potentially from the story of his wife.
Yes.
Because to me, the thing that really solidified this movie as like a 9 was when I realized that the bromance is like getting a complete arc, basically. Like they come down out of the building, he sees Powell, like his reunion with his wife happens, and it's just kind of like, oh, I guess we do love each other. Let's just like try and make it work, I guess. But we don't really get like a moment to solidify that, but when they come out of the building,
stare at each
he
other.
sees Powell through the crowd, and it's like
wordlessly.
Yeah.
They should have played that Top Gun song. Take my breath away.
it's like a full on bromance ending, and then they come in and they hug and embrace, and he like McClane is
Imagine
like
if they just like their heads backed up a bit and they looked each other in the eyes and they just kiss.
Yeah.
that would
Just a little one.
absolutely ruin it. But what McClane does instead is that as they're hugging, he's just like
That would have been crazy.
Yeah.
they're
I
like
love
deep in
that.
the hug, and McClane's like, he's just like, yes, my new friend. And then not only that, Carl comes
If I
out
move
of the
here,
building.
I'll have a friend.
Yeah.
Carl comes out of the building, and we know earlier that Al left the force because he accidentally shot a kid, and I could never raise a gun against anyone ever again. Carl comes out, and he blows past his trauma to save his new friend. I'm like, oh, what the hell? I'm feeling feelings. This is great. But then a critic
You
pointed
get
out,
an arc. You get an arc.
I'm like,
you get an arc.
Al gets an arc. This is amazing. But I saw one critic point something out that made me think, because McClane telling Powell earlier on the radio, he tells him to apologize to Holly. He's like, hey, if I don't make it, let my wife know, I'm sorry, and I was being selfish and blah, 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 and I didn't think she'd make it, and I should have trusted her, and blah, blah, blah. And he does that whole spiel to Powell, and Powell's like, man, just tell her that you're going to make it. And because we kind of get that out of the way, then the reunion with his wife, he can't say that to her because the audience has already heard it. It would be repetitive. So by transferring that like apology from the wife reunion to like over the radio with Powell, it enriches their bromance, which I like, but to the detriment of his relationship of the story with his wife, which I'm like, okay, that to me is a negative.
I can definitely agree with that. I think a counterpoint would be it's better at its place in the movie to have it at that kind of 2/3 mark, so it feels like the low point, like he's kind of most vulnerable, his feet are cut up, like, and so now he's having this like really raw emotional moment, and so it fits the pacing of the movie better. But I agree that it totally does take away from the wife arc.
I can see why they did it, like you say, but it's too bad.
Let's keep talking about characters. How about that nanny? No telefono. She's what? How about that Spanish? She's like the nanny from It's like the Family Guy nanny is based on her or something.
Maybe.
I
remember, like,
I didn't think about her for
Holly,
2 seconds.
Holly calls home,
to be
and
honest.
she's just like, see, it's like she's.
You fixated on some of the weirdest things in this movie.
Because I thought it was over the top.
What do you?
This movie's so racial.
She's a Hispanic maid. Like that's fairly
She
common.
understands
I feel like,
everything
in
that's
LA.
being said to her, but everything she speaks back, she has to say in Spanish back. Did he call?
I didn't notice,
no
but
telefono.
that is pretty cringe, I guess. I didn't notice, but
It's like, because I was watching this movie and I was like, I've never seen this movie, but I've seen The Simpsons and Rick and Morty, and I've seen so many shows like just do this movie and use this formula so many times that it was just kind of boring and basic to watch it. And then I feel like that's another example of how it just like trickled into the pop culture. It's like, and here's the Spanish maid character.
I can agree with you where like Die Hard kind of is like the prototype for a lot of movies, and it's so iconic that it's been parodied. But I think it's sometimes nice to go back to the vanilla versions of something. Like Lord of the Rings is the vanilla version of modern fantasy, and it's nice. Like it's nice to not need a unique twist on it to have any traction to the grand audience. And it's nice, like this is just like this straight action movie. Like this is maybe like the greatest just pure action movie there is. And I appreciate just like not having to have a unique twist that occupies so much of the runtime or so much of like the identity of a movie. This is just fucking Die Hard.
Bam.
I like a movie that has a title completely unrelated. And then it takes on a life of its own later, like once the movie becomes big, and then John McClane appears in frame on, like, you're watching like the third movie, he shows up and you're like, there he is, there's Die Hard.
There's Die Hard. John Die Hard.
John Die Hard.
Tends to happen, eh? It's like people being like watching Avatar, calling the Na'vi Avatars.
Yeah, well, it's funny because when the movie first came out, he tested really poorly. Like the trailers would come out and people laughed because he's just like this guy, like he's not an action guy, and so they laughed. People booed, and they took him off of all the posters, and they made the posters just the Nakatomi Plaza building. And then once it started doing well, and it's like 6 weeks into its runtime, they started putting him back on the posters. But
wow,
yeah, they put John Die Hard back on.
One of the first things, unfortunately, one of the first things I thought when the movie started, when he first came on screen, I thought, and now this man has an awful disease.
Yeah.
That sucks.
There's a few things about this movie.
Not a lot to talk about there. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, haven't aged super well, including the cop storyline of like, I shot a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh. And then he gets his redemption by, being willing to shoot people again. And you're like,
White people.
oh, yes. Grown up white people.
Who somehow survived, by the way. We can talk about that in a minute or two.
Yeah. He's a ballerina.
It's the hair. It's the source of his power.
Yeah. If you cut the hair off. But let's talk about the action. We haven't even talked about any of the action.
Yeah.
I think it's scrappy in the way that I like. It's not like crazy choreographed, like The Matrix or like John Wick or something.
Yeah.
But it feels grounded in an exciting way. Every shootout is ridiculous in how many bullets fly. Like I'll count that against the movie.
Those clips are big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I actually did the math. I'm like, okay, so it's like 50 bullets in those bullets. Okay, they go 3.5 seconds to like unload. Okay, yeah, they've shot like a few thousand bullets.
Yeah.
My favorite is when there's like these close-ups on this guy's knees getting shot out.
Oh,
it's gruesome. And then he falls because of that, and his head goes through a window on the way down. I was like, that part I was like, yeah.
There were definitely some like close-up shots of like body parts getting ripped apart by bullets, and I was like, geez, this is gruesome.
Oh, my kid was in the room when Taka, whatever, he's got
Takagi?
his head. Yeah,
Oh,
he got his
no.
head, the blood's like on the window. I was just like, did she?
Whoops.
What does she know?
It was pie.
What does she think just happened? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the action was very palatable. It wasn't too much. Like, I think the explosions were good. There were enough of them, not too many. And then, yeah, all the shootout scenes were, like, really enjoyable to watch. I especially love the scene where he's under the table and the guy goes on top of the table and is like, haha, you should have shot me when you had the chance or whatever.
Yeah.
I think I have the quote here.
You're running
but
out of table, yeah.
yeah, you're running out of table. You should have shot me when you had the chance. And he was like, oh, thanks for the tip. And then just shoots through the table. And it's such an
boom.
awesome, like, death to
There
watch.
were definitely, I mean, that was definitely a part where I'm like, they would get him. Like he's crawling under the table, and instead of like shooting under the table, the guy like gets on top.
Yeah, getting on top was a mistake.
I mean, it was like visually more interesting, but not for me.
I like though that he uses the bodies. Like that kind of goes to show his resourcefulness. I think both ways he used them. Like when he throws the body on the cop car,
That was awesome.
I think that's a great scene. And then the goons have to start firing because they don't want the stuff to get out.
I was getting frustrated by that point though. Like he's trying to signal that something's going down in that building. He's like, you've made a hole. There's a hole in the window already. Why don't you just put your pistol out?
Yeah,
Bang, bang, bang.
I agree.
But totally redeemed it with that body.
It was a great
Much more
moment.
effort.
Yeah, that was like a major. I'm like, come on, the police dispatchers. He's like, first of all, he's over the radio, which is like, how many people are gonna go through the trouble of doing a prank call over radio instead of a phone line?
Yeah.
And
Those ham radio nerds.
And he's saying like, hey,
They're
I'm
out
here.
there.
There are terrorists taking over a building. And they're like, yeah, right. I'm like, come on, what? You're the police. This is what this is
So
for.
frustrating.
But like, it is LA and there's like a million things going on. So maybe they're just kind of like, yeah, sure. But
Then you get that fun line. He's like, does it sound like I'm ordering a fucking pizza?
Yeah, that was good. That was
he's
good.
got so many great one-liners. One more like thematic type of thing that I want to bring up is the police and FBI kind of ineptitude / evilness, where I thought that was like maybe they're trying to say something here. I don't know because he's a cop and Pal's a cop and they're kind of like the lower down guys and the higher ups always come in and they like think that they know what they're doing but they screw up at every turn. And more than that, the FBI agents are like portrayed as actually like evil. They're like, but I figure we lose like 25% of the hostages max. I can live with that.
Or the guy, he's like, they're flying in the gunships and like, this reminds me of Saigon.
Yeah, it's like fucking Saigon. He's like, I was 11 years old.
I was in junior high.
I thought that was a good joke.
That's funny.
So it was funny that when the FBI chopper actually got blown up, which was a sick sequence, it feels like a victory. Like they're the cops that are dying, but you're almost like, yeah, got the bad guys. It felt like I liked the tension there.
Did you know that they shot that entire helicopter sequence in an hour?
Wow.
Basically,
Really?
they knew they had to shoot the sequence where they had the helicopters go through, but they had gotten so many complaints because it was like a working area. They shot it like an actual building. So many complaints about gunshots and explosions. They were basically given 2 hours to shoot the helicopter thing. And so they placed 24 cameras around the city. And they were going to have the helicopters go through a couple times, go to the top of the building, shoot the people going down, all kind of in one thing.
Yeah.
And they did this lap one time. And the police were like, no, this is way too dangerous because they're low.
They
they're
are
like
low.
right by the ground. And the police were like, no, we're done. We're shutting this down. And luckily they had the coverage they needed. So it took literally an hour for something that was originally planned to be 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, that's pretty, it works well.
Wow.
I wrote down that whole sequence looks so cool.
Yeah.
Like, especially now when we are so used to like helicopter shots like that being CG or whatever.
Yeah.
It looks so cool when they're flying through the city and like banking to like go on the like turn on the road and stuff.
Yeah.
They're in between buildings. Like, it looks so cool.
Well, and even the shot where they blow up the top of the building and the helicopter falls down, that was like the producer, like right when they started working on the movie, he was like, the top of the building's got to blow up.
Yeah, it's got it.
It's got it. So that's his giant mechanical spider moment.
Yeah.
But it works. But it was done as a miniature. And so like they shot it and the special effects guys were like, this wasn't great. But then when they brought it to the studio and slowed it down, it looks so good.
Yeah.
I fucking love it.
I was thrilled. I didn't think I'd be thrilled watching like a 80s action movie.
Miniatures are so much better than CG. Miniatures are great. Bring back miniatures.
For sure.
Thank you, Denis, for bringing back miniatures.
And Nolan.
And Nolan, yeah.
Well,
How about the way he hangs that guy, that blonde guy?
With the chains.
Yeah. That was the second time he messed with someone's neck.
That scene is very frustrating for me because he's already like pretty dead, it seems, and then he continues to like hang him with the chains, and then all of a sudden he's back.
yeah, it almost seems a bit too easy how he kills him because like he comes in there with like, that's the first fight after he bandages his bloody feet. And you kind of
With
expect
Napa
him,
leather.
you kind of expect him to be at his weakest point with Napa leather, at his weakest point. And then it's basically like a normal fight. Like, you know, the other guy gets some hits in, he gets some hits in, and at the end of it, he's just kind of like, oh, I see a chain. No problem to just wrap it around your head and then it's over.
Yeah, because he was pretty done at the bottom of those stairs, and then he hangs him, and then later on when all of the hostages are walking back down the stairs, it would have been really awesome if the chains were like empty again, and
That'd
you'd
be
be
a
like,
good shot,
holy shit, he's gone. Oh my god, he's still alive. But no, you still see him hanging, so you're like, okay, he's obviously like dead. He's been
Right.
there for a little while now,
But
and then
he's
he comes
dead.
back.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, they could have been a little better about this, I feel like.
It didn't bother me because although I will say that like as much as we were saying he's an underdog and he's struggling and it's like he's not overpowered or whatever in that fight, it seemed like it was a bit too easy.
Well, that's another thing, just to go to your point about like the guy, like you won and then you hanged him. He said he has another line that made me kind of go, what? That's not sportsman. Like, it's not hero-like. This line is unbecoming of a hero. You should have heard your brother squeal when I broke his neck.
Yeah.
That's a villain line, man.
Well, I don't know.
That's just fucked
That's
up.
not a villain line.
That's a
like,
total villain line.
That's like this guy is an evil terrorist trying to and they're about to kill people, or they already killed some people, and he's trying to kill him, and he's like, I don't know, the adrenaline's pumping. You
You're
want to
being
like
an apologist.
you want to get at him.
There's kind of another
Well, but
line.
that's the thing. Wait, sorry.
Yes,
one
yes,
second.
yes.
But that's the thing. He's not your typical action hero. He's a hard-nosed, from the streets, Brooklyn cop. He's not going to be like a goody two-shoes paragon of morality. He's going to be like, I'm going to help these people, but I'm going to like sass the fuck out
He's
of
a
everybody
sick
while I
fuck.
do it.
That's beyond sass. That's fucked.
There's another line.
Everything's fucked. Go
like
ahead.
that right at the beginning. I think it's the first guy that he kills when he's in that like newly developing area of the building, and the guy's like, you're a cop, you have rules to follow, I don't.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, yeah, that's what they tell me, like,
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want, really.
It's indicated that he's not like
Well,
He doesn't
a
follow
goody
the
two-shoes.
rules.
He's
Yeah.
off duty.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And then he has the guy at gunpoint, and then he proceeds to go, yeah, that's right, I don't have rules. So he elbows them, and then a fight ensues where they like melee, and then he only wins by them falling down the stairs and the guy accidentally breaking his neck. It's like, you had the guy at gunpoint.
Yeah.
You almost lost everything, man.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been too hard of a. That'd be like
No.
too hard of a hero. Like that's
For
like
sure.
Dirty Harry.
Too
level.
hard of a die.
Yeah. Let's rate the die.
That's for Die Harder.
Yeah.
There's Die Hard
free
1
Die
and then
Hard.
2 in terms of the kills that happen.
How many do they have?
5, I think.
But is it Die Hard, Die Harder, Die
No,
Hardest?
It's Die. Let's look at the franchise.
Die Hard again.
I think it's just Die Hard 2 and then
And then
there's
Die Hard with a Vengeance, and then Live Free, Die Hard, and then
and that was the kind of newer one.
and then
right?
they just did a like a remake, like a Die Hard. They just called it Die Hard
can't
again.
remember.
It's like Fast
Let me
and
look it
Furious
up.
all over again.
Try Hard.
The only good ones are the
Oh,
first.
A Good Day to Die Hard is
that's-
2013.
That's the Russians.
That's the last one.
yeah.
It is a good day to die hard.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3 are pretty good. 1 is the best. 3 is pretty good, and then 2 is okay.
The only one I had seen was Live Free or Die Hard.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Where he like jumps the thing into the jet or whatever.
Oh, was it? I remember seeing that movie and thought it was like okay, but I had never seen any of the Die Hard movies. So.
Exactly.
It's just another. It's like a mindless action movie. It doesn't have the soul of what this one has. I don't think. I do like Justin Long though.
It's got soul.
But I'm not.
I thought I had something to say. The the Helsinki syndrome. Okay, one more time. This is okay. I lied. There is one broader theme thing. So there's like that expert on the TV. You see him in the background a couple times where he's like talking about. It's like author of terrorist hostage terrorist or
Oh,
something.
sure.
And in the background, he's like finishing a quote, and the quote is like. Blah, 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 is the last resort of diplomacy. Couldn't we say that terrorism is the last resort of diplomacy too? So I'm guessing he's talking about like war is being the last resort of diplomacy. And he's kind of like saying something about like how terrorism is valid as a expression of like diplomacy when it fails.
I think though within the context of the movie, you could infer that like that's kind of a bullshit expert because like they're not terrorists, they're there just for money,
Right.
And so it's like the guy's like, oh, we're trying to understand, these
Yeah.
terrorists, this, and it's like there is no understanding. They just want the $600 million.
So the movie could be giving like a
The
cynical take.
nihilists.
Where we care about nothing, Lebowski. The movie could be giving a cynical take where it's like, okay, people are going to be apologists for terrorists and like try to understand them, but really,
I think
these guys are not terrorists. So it's
No.
kind of like,
I think we're connecting dots that may not be
yeah, I'm
intentional.
definitely diving deeper than like maybe
How are
the
they
movie
not
wants to do, but-
terrorists? They take hostages and then kill them.
well, because terrorists are ideologically driven and these guys just want the money.
Yeah.
I like that take too because like when you think it's terrorists, you're like, oh yeah, but then the robbers and you're like, all right,
Yeah.
this is fun. This
I
is
mean,
fun.
I guess the guys in Heat, they kill people too. Just because they're just robbers.
And I like that that's what their part of their plan is to play on the expectation of terrorism. Like they're like, yeah, you're gonna go free our buddies in this place and this place
That
and
was
this place.
funny.
Oh, that was a good touch with that place. Yeah, I saw it on TV one time.
Yeah.
Asian Dawn, I read an article about them.
yeah.
That was a good moment because you're like, whoa, this is a big network. And then
Yeah.
you're just like, oh no, he's just
he's
bullshitting.
fucking-
Yeah.
The whole sequence, though, when can we get into why this movie's boring, though?
Sure.
Okay, there's a lot of this movie. Honestly, I bet it's probably 20 minutes. Like, it's not an insignificant amount of time in this movie where he's not doing anything. The protagonist is not taking action.
His feet hurt.
He's on that level with the construction, just chilling out on the radio. Like, literally just talking about, like, feelings and Twinkies and ingredients in Twinkies, like, just chilling the fuck out. The whole time, there's, like, this big sequence where the cops siege the building, and he's just sitting up there.
James,
We
I have
just
a
like
question.
we take a break from the main character to go to
Well,
these
because he's
inept
not-
cops.
If you had just fought off many people and your feet were bleeding from walking through glass and you had to pick it all out individually and you're bleeding, wouldn't you want to rest for
Is
a
that
little bit
pre-
too?
Is that the part you're talking about? You're
We're
just
talking about a
earlier.
movie.
You're talking about earlier in the movie, though,
I
right?
think that might be pre-glass exploding. I don't
It's pre-glass.
remember.
It's
yeah, I
exactly.
think it
Is
is.
it?
Because the glass is later.
But he is barefoot, and like Sarah's point
Yeah.
remains that like he's
Fighting for
managed
his-
to kill a number of people and survive, and like he's trying to do his best to stop what's going on. But he's not a federal agent being sent on a mission to go like take down a
Guys,
despot.
He's a Lone Ranger.
It's a movie.
It doesn't
though.
matter.
I know. I agree with James that the movie has a duty to remain exciting in this, but I don't think the movie fails to do so. I think the ebb and flow of intensity is an important element to why this movie works. If it was constant action, constant moving forward, you wouldn't have time to like process and build anticipation. But I think
But he could be doing something.
He's
But
communicating.
I don't think there is a scene where he's not doing anything.
He's building his bromance with Powell.
They're
Okay.
talking.
And they're
No, but-
talking about
yeah.
what's going on in
I'm
the
telling
building.
you that,
so
from my experience of the film, I was like, this is boring. What the fuck are they doing?
I would
So that's how-
wager or not. I would put forward that the reason you thought it was boring is because you had not viewed their bromance as something important to the movie. But when I saw them starting to interact and saw the repartee, is that a word?
I like the way you used it.
that they had together, I was like,
A tete-a-tete?
sure. I was like, I'm invested in this. I want to see it coming. So every time that it like, you know, there's a crazy action thing and then we kind of take a break and he's like talking on the radio, I'm still invested. This is not boring to me because this is the other plot that's going on. It's a subplot that's just as interesting.
Ooh,
but you were
just,
bored.
Just as interesting on a
I
movie.
think-
I mean, that
if
was the
you-
whole movie. That made the whole movie to me is their bromance. If
I would
that
have-
wasn't there, I'd be like, pfft.
I'd have to go through it scene by scene, but I feel like each scene is still accomplishing its purposes and it has like clear objectives, a character motivation, and like there's something he's trying to do and it's working or it's not. And I'd have to go through scene by scene. If I was going to cut something from this movie, it would be the reporter storyline. I feel like that is a lot of extra runtime for very little accomplished.
Yeah. It wasn't even a good like reporter side story compared to other movies.
I think it was kind of supposed to be like funny while also being like, look how like cynically looking, like look how bad things are with this or whatever. But it wasn't very compelling.
We already had another asshole, like the FBI or the police deputy or whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of assholes in this movie.
Yeah, we didn't need two assholes.
I like that part where like all the FBI die or something like that. He's like, I guess we're gonna need more FBI agents.
Yeah, he's like, holy Christ! Guess we're gonna need some more FBI guys, I guess. It's so good.
I love it.
Can we get into the nits and hits?
Yes.
Hit the button, whoever's. Nitpicks. When he's dangling in the elevator from the gun strap, that was great.
Yeah.
That's a hit pick for me. It's so visual. You can see, you're like, okay, that gun's rigid, but what if it just shifts a bit and he falls? Like, I've just felt it.
That's good.
It's a great sequence.
They actually used, so the take when he jumps and then misses, that's actually a failed stunt. So
really?
He's supposed to go and land, but they liked that so much that they just used the shot of him catching as the cutaway, and it kind of works. But yeah, that's totally, the stunt guy missed the catch. And I think it makes it so, it makes like the blood drain from your feet. The way he just falls and you're like, oh God.
Yeah,
I
for
fucking
sure.
love it.
And then right after that, when he crawls into the vents, was one of my hit picks where he's like, sure, come out to the coast, we'll have a few laughs.
I like that whole, sorry, go ahead.
No, well, it's like that singer, and then it cuts away to something else, and it cuts back to him in the same vent, and he just gives another one. He's just like, now I know what a TV dinner feels like. I'm just like, all right, we'll keep rolling. Like, let's go. We can do another one.
Yeah.
When he's in that vent with the Zippo, that's one of those like shots that gets used in those sizzle reels of
For
like
sure.
when you're watching, I don't know, some channel that plays lots of different movies.
Yeah. But at the same time, it was like sort of a nitpick for me because he clicks open the lighter and it's like
A light turned on.
we just turned on a light in front of you. I'm like,
bright.
okay, but
Every
because
time
cameras
someone
more
does that in a
capable
movie,
of
it's
that.
like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
Yeah.
Like you're gonna get like 3 inches. If anything, your eyes just haven't adjusted to the dark now.
Yeah,
You're
you should-
screwed.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems more like people-pleasing action movie to have you need more illumination. If you just had just the light from the flame, it would be like more like horror-y.
Yeah, unless you were doing like an absolute cutting edge camera lens, you couldn't get enough light from
Right.
it. I think like Barry Lyndon has
Right.
that scene that's completely lit by candlelight, but those are like, you know, they worked with NASA to get such cutting
Right.
edge lenses
Yeah.
that they could do that.
Isn't it like hundreds of candles too?
Yeah, it's like you can't do that with that technology. Now we could, but with actual film, no.
You know,
it's
Barry
impossible.
Lyndon's one of those movies we've mentioned like probably 20 times on this podcast. We never got to do.
We should do a Now Playing on it next week. No,
Oh,
I'm not
nope.
gonna touch it.
I just feel like I was thinking about everyone should just bring in like their list of like honorable mentions that we always wanted to do that we never got to do, that we could just give some people so like a list of shit they
That'd
can
be
go
fun.
watch.
Yeah,
Beyond the
recommendations.
Grave.
Yeah,
From Beyond the Grave.
that'd be fun.
Major, well, not major, but a hit pick for me, like a funny line, was right after he escapes from the terrorists, like for the first time, and he goes into that like in construction area or whatever. It's a great bit of like early characterization because he's like talking to himself. He's like, why the fuck didn't you stop him, John? And then he like waits a second. He's like, because then you'd be dead too, asshole. And I'm just like, okay, I just immediately that endears me to him because I'm like, he seems real. He's not just kind of like, okay, I'm on a mission now. I gotta kill the bad guys. He's like, what the fuck? Oh shit, what do I do? Like,
I also like that they kind of subtly give you a little bit of his heroic instinct instead of, he has the chance to run away, to go down the stairs,
Yeah.
but instead he goes up and he traps himself because,
Yeah.
you know, he doesn't want to leave people behind.
Right.
And I think that's like a good way of them not being like, hey, look, a hero, but like, he's kind of a hero. He's got
Yeah.
heroic instinct.
he's doing guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
Instead of
Not chimp warfare.
It's kind of a monster in the house movie where he's the monster.
yeah.
Because they're kind of trapped in there with him.
Right.
But Home Alone's like that too. And Kevin McAllister,
This is Home
that-
Alone. He's a
it's only
badass.
like 10 minutes of the movie that they are like trapped in the house with him.
Well,
But it's a hell of a 10 minutes. Those micro machines.
Yo, I think that movie is like way more hard to watch in terms of like what's happening to those villains than anything in Die Hard.
There's a lot of things that are that and this have in common.
Yeah.
Like even feet getting messed up.
Yeah.
Stepping on nails and in tar.
Home Alone is body horror for kids. Like, it's just ridiculous.
And that guy's got some zingers too. You guys
Kevin
give up or are you thirsty for more? There's so many zingers. You're what the French call les incompetents. You guys should watch Home Alone.
That's a good one.
From Beyond the Grave. Next Christmas.
Did you know that Bonnie Bedelia is actually a McCulkin?
Who's that?
That's
She plays Holly.
Oh, Holly.
in this movie?
Yeah, she's
Holy.
she's their aunt. Like she's
Whoa.
Macaulay Culkin's aunt.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that bonkers?
Bonnie Bedelia.
Bonkers.
it's also a great name is Bonnie Bedelia.
Bedelia.
It's like a Wes Anderson
Yeah,
character.
yeah, you're right.
Bonnie
Interesting.
Bedelia illness. Oh God, where are we going?
No,
Okay,
Oh,
we're
no.
let's not go
with
down
that.
the rabbit hole.
Sadness.
Nitpick, that is one that the filmmakers were aware of, is the escape, which is I think is great. Another thing that was kind of they hadn't figured out until they were already shooting is they were going to use an ambulance to get out. And I think that's a clever, like we're gonna outsmart by just blending in and then get away.
Right.
And so they thought of that. They're like, oh, we already have this truck in here. We'll just have an ambulance roll out of it. But earlier in the movie, we see inside the truck when all the people are leaving, like they're coming out of the truck. You see all the way into the back of the truck. There is no ambulance.
Plot hole.
There's a continuity error there.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yep.
Plot
And
hole.
they knew it. They said the
It's not
first
a plot
reading
hole.
they realized, and they're like, if someone really fucking cares, they can suck it. So
And then later on, Argyle like smashes into it. And that's like I knew he was gonna come into play. I just didn't think it was gonna be that late. Holy.
That is another kind of major criticism that I would make of the movie is that they bring in Argyle. We have some back and forth between him and McClane, and then he just kind of sits there the whole movie, and then he shows up at the end. It's like we keep cutting back to him to be like, oh, he doesn't know what's going on, and then oh, he does know what's going on, and then he disables their ambulance, which doesn't matter because they never get to it anyways. And then at the end he pulls up and he's just like, hey, I've been here the whole time.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
they kind of flubbed it.
some dead weight the movie could cut. But I also
sure.
think it's good breathing room that the movie needs, and like a little bit of low stakes lightheartedness.
Yeah, he was a fun character when you did get to see him.
Yeah.
But I will say there was an aspect of this movie that I thought would come into play and never did, and that's the bear.
Well, yeah, it doesn't make sense that he left the bear in the car.
Well,
because he was gonna call
teddy bear.
Argyle.
He gets off the airplane with the bear, so it's like obviously an aspect of the movie in some way, you would hope. And then you're like, okay, he's either gonna give it to his wife or his kids, and like in my brain, I was already picturing like this reunion with his kids, and he gives them the bear, and it's like comes full circle because that's
Right.
one of the first things that you see. And then really the last interaction with the bear is Argyle in the limousine. He looks back at the bear and is like, "Shut up." That was it. I was
Yeah.
like, why didn't they use
Again,
that?
yeah, there should have been a shot with his kids.
Yeah.
They should have had some kind of shot in the middle of the movie to set it up, like that daddy was going to come home with mummy.
so you want the movie to be longer.
Not,
I'm just
no,
kidding.
there's a lot they could cut to make up for
Yeah.
this. And then, yeah, for it to be a real Christmas movie, I think they need, he like kneels down and they run into his arms
Yeah.
and they're all a happy family
I
together.
think that there are like
With the
Santa
bear.
Claus flies overhead.
John, knowing him, he could come down the chimney.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Imagine the kids are in bed, her eyes snap open, she hears such a clatter on the roof. Santa's here. And then no, it's John McClane's
Yeah.
coal-covered feet.
yeah, I mean, to come back to the question of like Christmas movie or not Christmas movie, I feel like it completely depends on what you define as a Christmas movie. Because for me, it didn't really feel like a Christmas movie at all. It felt like it takes place at Christmas, which kind of adds some like flavor that wouldn't be there if it wasn't there. But it didn't really feel like a Christmas movie.
I don't think it's trying to feel like a Christmas movie. To me, it is a Christmas movie because Christmas is an essential piece of bringing it all together. Like
guess
it's
so.
like the party is a Christmas party, and like they need it to work. He's coming home because of Christmas. Like there's like a theme of like family togetherness. So like there's a lot of elements that rely on Christmas, or at least use it as a magnet to try to like pull all the elements at least to the center.
Now I would argue that it would probably feel a lot more like a Christmas movie if they hadn't done the whole trade-off of like, we're going to make the Powell subplot stronger and make the Holly subplot weaker. Sure. If they had been more like, if it felt more satisfying that they like reunite and they decide to be together and they reconcile, that would feel more like Christmas movie Eve.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. They need this final shot with the kids and shit.
It's lacking the Christmas spirit that you usually get from a Christmas film.
I guess the question of like, what is a Christmas movie? I think it has to answer the question like, what is the meaning of Christmas?
Whoa.
And this doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. This is more about fuck the FBI and terrorists and cynical, powerful people.
Isn't that what Christmas is all about anyway?
But that bear, he should have brought it with him, because doesn't he say to Argyle, I'm going to call you saying that I need a ride to my accommodation, or I'm going to call you saying go away.
Yeah. Well, Argyle says it to him. He's like, if you get lucky, call me. I'll bring your bags up, and if you don't, I'll find you a place to stay.
Okay. I missed the bags part. But damn, he doesn't call him. Like he knew he was going to be down there for half an hour.
He tries to call him.
He tries to call him,
but then that's when it's the same scene that the phones get cut off.
Yeah, that's right. But that's still like he's been up there for 15 minutes at that point. He's having meetings. Man, but I think Argyle had nowhere to go.
You need to rewatch. You need to get enhanced and rewatch.
I think also like it would be unfair of Argyle to
time.
expect him to know if his wife was going to let him into the house or not within 15 minutes. Like he understood that there's some nuance. It could take a little bit of.
Argyle knows.
Yeah.
He knows
Argyle knows all.
Oh, I have some actual nitpicks here. Some of them have to do with radios. Now, I have worked with radios at a couple jobs in the past, including when I was a wildfire fighter. We used them extensively. I'm not going to say I know everything about radio, but I'm pretty sure on every radio I've ever used, you can't interrupt other people. It's not when you're on the line and you're holding on the button, you've opened up the whole air. No one else can like then hit their button and walk and talk over you. But that happens multiple times in this movie. Someone's mid-sentence and then Jaw just comes in, now hold on a second, hotshot, and starts talking shit. It's not how it works. You gotta wait for them to finish.
And that's a fair nitpick. It's a fair nitpick.
And then there's a part where he's using the radio. He's not even touching it. He's responding and he's just like wrapping up his feet and shit. He's not even holding the fucking radio. But both hands are not on the radio. I don't know how he's doing that.
Maybe he, put something against it. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's a nitpick. My nitpick is you can see his rubber feet in one of the shots. It's pretty late. I think after the explosion, he like kind of lands on his side, and you can see the little like rubber slippers that are made to look like feet, and you can just see the ankle.
Interesting.
I forgot to say this earlier. It's not really a nitpick, but I was talking about how he's like freaking out that the FBI is coming in. Like, don't you know who you're dealing with? Even though he just like kicked all this ass single-handedly. I feel like the movie is aware of that criticism because there's a shot when the FBI are storming the building. One of them is like crawling through a garden and gets like pricked by a flower and goes like, ow. So it's like they knew they had to make them look incompetent.
Yeah.
I like those little details, like when the goon is eyeing the chocolate bars, and he's like he's holding the gun. He keeps like looking at it. He grabs a chocolate bar. It's like, why?
And he grabs a Crunchy. I haven't had one of those in like 20 years. They're so dope. Underrated bar.
Oh, I don't know. That's not my thing.
Have you had them?
Yeah, I used to get them at Halloween all the time. That was like a constant Halloween candy.
Really?
Yeah, like the you're talking it's the blue one. Yeah, with the Rice Krispies inside.
Yeah, Rice
that
Krispies.
used to be a Halloween thing.
Oh, maybe in your time.
Wait a second.
In my time, they stopped doing that.
Well, no. The Halloween one is crunchy. That's like yellow.
That used to
this
be
one.
But that's you're looking at modern Halloween stuff. You don't.
I just googled crunchy bar, and that's what comes up. So
That's the same bar.
no, it's not.
Crunch
It's
bar.
different. This
Crunch
one is like
bar.
honeycomb
Yeah.
on the inside.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
crunch
they used-
bars are good.
Yeah, those
It
ones
used-
are kind of squeaky. I didn't like them that much as a kid.
It has like a gross texture.
This motherfucker.
See-
You recognize that bar?
I like those, but I like the crunchy bars with like the yellow weird
those
stuff
too.
inside.
Like the sponge.
Yeah.
I like the sponge.
I
too.
really like the flavor, but it always got stuck in my teeth, so it was annoying.
That's
think
taffy, right? Is
Yeah,
it?
it's Score.
It's like a taffy or
I'm
something.
going on record
Yeah.
saying Score is the best.
How
It's up
did
there.
we get
It's up
on
there.
this weird tangent?
I like when he lights up that smoke in the airport.
Yeah,
When
it's
he
weird.
arrives and he just like starts smoking.
It's shocking. You're like, whoa.
You're like,
Whoa, you could do that?
He just chain smokes the whole time, by the way. Like, entirely throughout the movie,
Yeah.
he has a cigarette in his hand, I swear.
Good.
When they
I like
first
it.
get in the building, why did Carl, I think it is, like have to throw that little puck grenade at that security guard who's just like leaning against the wall? He like throws a grenade at him, then he comes around and shoots him a bunch of times. Like, man,
Just shoot him.
Just shoot him. I think they just have to establish the grenades, or they wanted to like kind of praise the killers. I want to show the
we want to.
capabilities
They
of the
are
squad.
competent. They got a plan.
Speaking of the praise the killer sequence, I don't know if anyone's ever seen this before. I must not be the first, but I thought it was so weird when about 19 minutes in, when the crew is walking up to the door, they've gotten out of the truck and they're walking up to the door. Hans is kind of in the center of the frame and he walks through the door, but to his camera left, so the goon immediately to his left. If he continued walking,
Wait, wouldn't that be the goon to his right?
so the goon to Hans' right, camera left.
Yeah.
If they continued walking, he would run into a wall. Like it's like he's like inches away from hitting this wall, and they cut the shot because it's not. But it's such a weird moment where you're like, wait, he's gonna hit the wall. Like what the fuck? And so yeah, check 19 minutes that walk up shot. The guy on camera left. It's so
They
weird.
they got that shot. They didn't realize that was an issue until in the edit, and they're like, just cut it before.
No,
it hits
they
the
knew
wall.
while they were
knew,
shooting.
and they're like, it's too important to have them in formation. Like we can't sacrifice that. We'll just cut the shot early enough. I think they would have seen it.
No one will
Okay.
notice.
In real life, he would just slow down, wait for his buddy to
And
walk
kind of
by.
cross behind, Yeah,
You know, you know what I thought was kind of funny and like maybe weird. What?
I'm just laughing at David's brains.
It was kind of funny in terms of tone is when they get the vault open and it shows them like this, like, oh, and there's like
Ode to Joy.
Ode to
That
Joy is
Beethoven's
playing, and
Ninth.
the light is going, and it even has like Hans Gruber's hair is like
Yeah.
blowing in the breeze a little bit.
I love that.
And there's a light behind him and stuff,
Yeah.
and it's like seems angelic. I was like, this is like kind of weird tonally, but I like it.
Yeah.
It's like goofy.
Yeah, as I said in previous podcasts, lately my kid's been on this thing where after bath time she wants to like watch a daddy show. So like she was in the room for the first little bit of this movie, and then she saw the vault and she was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Huh, it's a room that's hard to get in." That's it.
You just say like it's a safe. It's a
You don't know what that is,
you put important stuff in it and you lock it.
but it's a big one. Doesn't matter.
Could you
Tell your kid
imagine
to come to my place. I'll tell her all this stuff.
if like Apple just had a vault in their headquarters with like just millions of dollars like that?
Apple.
And then also,
Well, they're bonds.
I have never seen a vault with 6 individual like
Locks?
to
Wow.
get into it.
You know, that's a
How many vaults have you
Nakatomi.
seen?
I just thought it was kind of funny. Like,
That's a Nakatomi classic.
oh, of course.
They always got the 6 locks in the
I
vault.
think in Apple's vault, they actually just have Steve Jobs' body like Lenin, like a casket with glass so you can look at him.
The
or
lock
in a
is
cryo
just-
chamber or
You
something.
guys want to do another segment?
Sure.
I don't get whatever
Wait,
one
do
you
you?
pick.
I'm gonna have to probably go pretty soon. I think I have
Yeah.
to.
I don't have any fan services.
I don't have anything. I mean,
I sacrificed the last episode of White Lotus to watch this. So
the
Actually-
finale. I just
Yeah.
watched it last night.
Oh, I guess we're doing now playing. Hit it. So hold on, White Lotus. You've seen the finale of the season. You've seen all but the finale.
I'll be watching
and
it tonight.
I've seen like 4 of the episodes of the season.
this season
this
or the
season?
first
This
Oh, wow,
season.
you caught up.
Well, they're short seasons.
Yeah,
They
it's like
are.
7
Yeah.
eps.
They're still
7?
like hour-long episodes, though.
Yeah, it's 1 per day.
Wow, nice. You've
And,
been binging it.
No, binging is more than 1. per day.
Well, day-to-day binging.
I've been watching consistently.
Sure.
I think so far, and keep in mind, I'm not caught up.
So you finished season 1,
Yeah.
and now you're 4 episodes
Like
into
halfway
season
Oh,
through
you
2.
did
season
watch
2.
season 1.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think it's way better.
Season 2
second
is?
season
No,
is-
I think season 1's way better.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I mean, having finished it, I will say that overall, season 1 is better.
Season 1 has like multiple things that collide and make the compound the drama. Where it's
I
like,
see what you mean.
oh, he's got the bag of drugs, but she is setting up this like heist, and then they're gonna collide, and you're
Yeah.
gonna see that guy naked, and they get
I think there was a bit more
Whereas
like
this one is just
intertwining.
like, what's happening? They're all.
It's a lot more like everything starts right at the beginning. Like it's pretty intense all the way through. Whereas the first season there was some leading in. You really get to know your
Oh,
characters.
so it's not gonna get more intense than it is now? Nah, that sucks.
Oh, it does.
Well, I haven't seen the last episode, so I don't know.
Things get wild.
All right.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We don't want to spoil it for each other now. This is crazy.
Yeah. Overall, I'd say it's still a very, very strong season 2, but season 1 will remain the better one. But there are some questions that we can't really get into.
I honestly think like
But-
season 2, like if I was just watching this show, it's the type of quality level that's like, oh, that show is awesome. Oh yeah, it's worth watching. And you're like, It's not.
It's not worth
It's like, this is as good as normal TV.
Wait, White Lotus?
Yeah, I think it's as good as any other show I'd put on. Like, it's probably not as good as, like, I imagine Yellowstone's better. I imagine, what's the one where everyone's like a corporation?
Yellowstone.
Not Suits.
Severance?
No. Whatever.
Severance was better, I feel like.
Yeah, Severance was
I'm excited
great.
for that next season to come out at some point.
But White Lotus is...
I think it's fine.
I think White Lotus is particularly appealing to a certain type of like millennial, somewhat well-off person. Because I've seen people like posting on it online, and it's very, very well loved by like, you know,
A24
left-wing
fans, I feel like,
Really?
also
What's that?
appreciate. Like A24 fans
Yes.
also appreciate.
Yeah.
It's just kind of that
A24
like weird, quirky,
Yeah.
kind of funny.
And the target of its criticism is often like wealthy people,
Yeah.
like entrenched, you know, interests and stuff. Like it just is excoriating towards the rich people in the show.
yeah, if there was some sort of like tech woven into it, could be a Black Mirror episode. of
Yeah,
some
almost.
sort.
Yeah. And it has like a very cynical take.
Yeah.
Some hopefulness, but like overall, like a cynical sort of takedown of some of the assumptions made by like entrenched power things. I sound so ridiculous right now.
Very abstract.
But that's who I think is into it. I think it has less broad appeal than something like, I haven't seen Yellowstone, but I imagine that's more like everybody might like that.
It's more. I thought Yellowstone was more rednecky though.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, for the every
Cowboys.
person.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I do love
And White
cowboys.
Lotus is like, how come that is sardonic? Like, it's silly.
Someone actually say sardonic?
What?
Does someone actually say sardonic?
No, but
Oh.
like the whole show kind of has a
Is- yeah,
sarcastic,
yeah.
like tongue-in-cheek vibe.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Hey.
Is that it?
I just want. Oh, but
Succession.
real. Oh,
Succession.
Succession.
I'm trying to remember.
I
That's
could.
The Rock?
I couldn't. I really couldn't
Succession
finish
is-
Succession.
I haven't heard.
Too
I haven't seen
long.
it, but I think I'd like
Too
it.
long episodes. It has another Culkin in it. So
How many
Kieran.
are there?
Kieran's the bigger one now.
all the Culkins.
I feel like Succession is more like
Slow.
everything is definitely fucked right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And White
I'm
Lotus is
so-
kind of like eases you into the fuckedness.
I don't like shows that everything is fucked all the time.
Yeah.
I don't watch TV shows to like suffer.
Exactly.
Watch TV shows to escape. Movies, I'm okay with suffering. I'm enclosed with like, you know, enclosing a ball of suffering.
Yeah.
You just go in and you experience shit for 2 hours. But a TV show is so ongoing that I just want to
Exactly.
live. I don't want to live there
That
with
was
that
my-
cloud over my life.
That was my main criticism of Game of Thrones in the early seasons when like it was getting so big. I think everyone was like, "Oh, it's like Lord of the Rings, but it's not scared of like showing the hardcore
Fucking
stuff,
boobies,
like people
man.
fucking blood, people getting horribly mangled." And it's like I'm like, okay, I don't want to go watch a show to be sad about everything, and so that's why I liked as the show went on.
This is Sting, and it'll cut your tits off.
Yes, exactly. That's Game of Thrones in a nutshell. So I like how in later seasons they kind of like realize that they need some hopefulness. I think obviously the show
talking Game of
stumbles in the
Thrones?
last what?
You're saying you like the later seasons?
In the
again?
middle.
Oh, okay.
In the last season they completely screwed up,
Yeah.
but I like how they kind of got away a little bit from the like Lord of the Rings thing,
See, I think that
and more just kind of were
early-
like being adult Lord of the Rings.
early Game of Thrones, I think, balanced both. And I think you're right. The point was to be like, oh, hey, there's something that's good that's happening. Ha, fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
And it got overwhelming. But I think that the idea was always to, you know, like constantly undercut the hopefulness with the cynicism. But then at the end, you know, bring us to somewhere where there's, hey, maybe
Right.
something. But they just fumbled it so hard
They
after
did.
season
They did.
4 that none of it mattered anyway.
Totally derailing you.
Block out season 8 from your memory. The show, I feel like coming up into like 6 and 7, I feel like found a good balance of we're not hopeful, we're not cynical and nihilistic,
Yeah.
we're just realistic.
I think
What's up?
Oh, we're just so bored.
no, I just think
I just
I
watched.
think that
We got into Game of Thrones.
At least it's not Star Wars.
Just let him finish.
the show peaked, I think, in season 4, but I think it had its like brightest moment was the Battle of the Bastards. I think that's like maybe the greatest moment of the show, where it's like finally you get some respite and like the good
Right.
guys get to fucking win.
Yeah.
And it's a great moment.
Okay,
I was
sorry,
just laughing.
James.
I was thinking about like, what if Macaulay Culkin should make a comeback
Yes.
movie? It's Home Alone 5 or whatever number it has to be, and he's the parent. He forgets his kid. Then he goes back to the house to get the kid, but because their phones are dead or whatever, the kid doesn't know that it's his dad trying to get in the house. So the kid's defending the house, Home Alone style, from what he thinks is a robber, but it's actually Macaulay Culkin. So then Macaulay Culkin's on the other side going, God damn it, and he has to deal with all the traps of the ilk that he previously set for the robbers.
That'd be fun.
That'd be great.
They already tried to
Do it,
reboot
Hollywood. You
pitch it.
Home Alone, and it did not work.
They tried to do another one?
They did a reboot.
Yeah.
They've all sucked after 2.
Well, but like they tried to
Trump.
reboot the whole franchise and it flopped.
No, but even 3 was like a different kid, and like that one's
Was it?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's only first 2.
There's only 2 Culk ones.
I don't know. I'm not big on the Home Alone franchise.
You don't call it Home Alone. You call it In Your Home.
One of the best memes ever is that like Home Alone cover, and then it has Michael Jackson in the background.
God.
That's the best. That's the best. And on that note,
I just wanted to say on a general note, it was I think that after we kind of clarified what was going on with the podcast and like the reasons why we're shutting down and everything, I feel like I saw a lot more comments in the comments being understanding and being like, hey, that's hard, guys. You know,
I saw a legit apology.
Yeah.
Of someone being like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was this way. You've told me it's not that way. I'm sorry for saying it was that way.
Yeah.
What is it, the
It's like-
5 stages of grief?
I'm like, wow.
Right.
We're angry, not in acceptance.
I was just like, that was really big of you to do that. You don't have to do that on a YouTube
Thanks to all the
comment.
people who commented and like said you understand, because we were worried how we came across when we first announced that, and like we love you guys, and so that meant a lot to us to hear you guys say that.
I had a concept. I was thinking about something else I don't want to spoil, but I was like, you know what we could do for that is we could get the same people from They're Just Movies to do that. I'll tell you guys about this later.
Oh, cliffhanger for next one, or maybe never.
Maybe never.
All right. Well,
They're Just Booties. It's a baby booty review channel.
What the fuck?
You know the tiny little shoes they wear?
Yippee-ki-yay.
0 out of 10. 0 out of 10. None of them fit me. Okay. Let's move on. It's over, right?
You can tweet at us at TJMPod. You can email us hello@they'rejustmovies.com.
2 more episodes. Stay tuned.
Number 3 is over.
That's like your listicle countdown.
Yeah.
That was a good
Love you. Bye.
place to end.